Hello, Mill Housing Network family, and thank you for joining us today as we are pretty much in the thick of the holiday season. I'm sure we're all getting a little, chaotic and indecisive as to what gifts to get and what decorations, that we need for the house and whatnot. But I'm sure some of us have not really thought about the more uncommon gift ideas. And for today, I have a wonderful friend with us, Ryan from Navy Mutual. Hi, Ryan.
Hello, thanks for having me. Very excited to
Absolutely.
chat. It's been a little while, but ready to go, ready to talk.
Awesome. And yeah, what I was talking about when we think of an uncommon gift, during the holidays or even any time of the year, we're talking about a legacy, potentially creating a legacy and leaving it behind for your loved ones. And so that's why we, wanted to chat with you and kind of touch on how we might be able to use life insurance as the gift that keeps giving. So do have a few questions here, and then obviously, if you're watching with us right now and you have any questions of your own that we might not be able to get to today, be sure to comment below, and we'll redirect them to Ryan after this stream. So first up, what does leaving a legacy have to do with life insurance? How do we tie the two together?
Well, leaving a legacy through life insurance is a great way to kind of pass on some of your assets outside of the risk pool and provide a tax-free benefit to your family, whether it's an ongoing monetary amount a month or a lump sum, a gift of some kind, to kind of help the family beyond, when you're living. So when you think about legacy, think about, how am I going to be remembered? You know what I mean? And what are some ways to do that? And there's lots of ways to do it. And this is one way that people can do it, and it's affordable, and they don't have to be the Rockefellers. So, you know, that's what it means to me. But what I've learned, been doing this for 20 years and 13 years at Navy Mutual, is legacy can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. We're all human, but we're all so different, and I'm constantly surprised on what people feel their legacy should be. But life insurance is a great way to have that tax-free funds available to leave that legacy in the way that you want it to be left. So
I definitely understand how in different stages of your life, your priorities and things that are important to you can change. And one thing for sure, now having my daughter and seeing her grow every single day, one of my feelings down the road, and I'm hoping it's not for a long time, but one of my feelings down the road is to make sure that she's taken care of, and what
yeah,
is something that I can leave behind for her, that one, yes, she'll remember me by, but ultimately, you want to make sure that um, your children and your grandchildren one day can, just be rest assured, with something that you leave behind for them. I'd love for you to give us maybe some specific financial needs that my daughter in this case or others beneficiaries that they've chosen. What could my life insurance address with their financial needs?
yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. You know, the whole topic here is the gift that keeps on giving, and setting up not only our children but maybe grandchildren or great grandchildren. Hence, legacy. Help to hate to be cheesy and bring it back to the whole legacy talk, but yeah, life insurance isn't always just a lottery ticket. Sometimes it's for college expenses, final expenses, so nobody needs to go do a GoFundMe. Just keeping the lifestyle to maintain it, so nobody has to move out of a good school district or a home. All the way down to food on the table. So keep in mind that this is designed to make sure that if you're no longer able to provide for your family because the unfortunate has happened and the unspeakable, that there are ways to kind of take care of your family or leave that legacy for the generations. I've seen this all the way down to like needs children to okay. I want my kids not have to worry about this part of their life, and leaving the assets to the next generation so they can just focus on their current life. So there's a lot of different ways to look at it, but the big three you kind of named was kids, right? I want to pay off the house so they have somewhere to live. I want to make sure they have a higher education, and I want to make sure that they don't have to worry about where they're gonna buy, their next pair of shoes or coats or so on and so forth. It's those necessities, and then beyond that, as far as any, if there's anything more we can do, that's bonus. And I think those are the big concerns for the military community because they're the ones that are moving around. And they've all had to deal with some sort of helping out another family.
And my thought on that too, as far as when we say when the unthinkable or when the we don't want to think about that right now, but um, for sure, it's one thing that I wouldn't want my child to have to worry about. I want to give her one less thing. That if you've already lost your loved one, that's such a huge emotional,
Sure.
huge emotional event there. And so it's like if I can, monetarily give you one less thing to worry about,
Absolutely.
I can see that being a great gift, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a way, when you're giving that monetary gift, you're kind of giving the time, back to them to not have to worry about that stuff because, we all have an income, and if you go too early, we're just replacing that income and giving that time back. So there is one less thing to worry about. In the
Right,
life insurance industry, a lot of people think that people are profiting from somebody's death, but that's actually illegal. What you're doing is you're just providing the income you would have provided anyways, right? Or the resources you would have provided anyways, whether that's in doing it yourself and now you have to outsource that help, right? So if you're a stay-at-home spouse and you're driving the kids or you're doing the care needs, well, that needs to be outsourced. So you're not really profiting, you're just making life easier for the
right.
family member or leaving that legacy because you want to give them a leg up in their life.
And for somebody who has, taken a life insurance policy out, I'm sure one of the things that they want to be assured about is that, or reassured about, is that it does go to the people that they intend it for. So
Yep.
maybe doing a side tangent here, what are some benefits in creating a trust to manage a life insurance payout?
Well, the trust is great because it's a legal extension of you beyond the grave. So we've all heard of the trust fund baby kind of verbiage before. If somebody unfortunately had to rely on the trust to provide resources for them because they did lose a parent or a loved one, but it's one thing to give an 18-year-old a $500,000 check, and it's another thing to say, okay, at 18, we'll provide this for your education, this for your housing, so that money can be allocated responsibly.
Responsibly.
And trust is also a good way to kind of help with some of the tax, ramifications of an estate. Life insurance is paid out tax free, but if you turn it into an income stream, there are some tax events to be considered. Navy Mutual doesn't give tax advice. There's plenty of tax professionals out there, but we do mention some questions you might want to consider asking a tax professional. Navy Mutual has a great resource on our website, navymutual.org. Check out the member benefits. We partnered with Trust and Will. It's like the TurboTax for wills and trusts, and you get a 20% discount for being a Navy Mutual member, which is really awesome. And that way you can kind of navigate it and have that help and do it. Obviously, there's plenty of JAGs and other people in the military community that would help with that as well. But if you're just kind of looking for some resources, that's where Navy Mutual jumps in. We don't directly do it ourselves, but we absolutely jump in there. So trusts are a great way to make sure minor children are taken care of. You always want to name somebody specifically. The biggest learning lesson or learning moment, right, in a lot of my calls when it comes to beneficiaries is, oh, it's in my will, or they know that the money's supposed to go to my kids or my spouse or so on and so forth. The world that we live in, there is such thing called probate, and you go through probate, that costs money. But if you name somebody specifically as a beneficiary, whether it is a trust or an actual person that is an adult, then it goes to them, and it bypasses probate, and they have the option to either take the lump sum, or with Navy Mutual, we can guide them, say, hey, maybe makes sense to take a couple hundred here to pay off the house, but then put this other into an income stream over the next 20 years to kind of get your feet under it and let that money kind of stretch out. If you have a minor child, as a beneficiary and you pass away, the minor child can't legally be given money. So it would go to whoever the guardian of that child is. Now, I would I would probably hope that you are naming your guardian of said children if you were to pass away to a responsible adult. But sometimes people want to make sure that the responsible adult taking care of their children, doesn't have access to all the money. And that's, uh, unfortunately a real right situation that could come up, and that's why you want to make sure you name somebody specific. And a trust is a great way to make sure that your wishes are heard and executed properly.
Absolutely. And I'm sure most of people who consider taking out a life insurance policy, the first thing they probably think of is family.
Yeah,
Let's take into account somebody who maybe might not have, any children, never got married, can they use their payout towards like a charity or foundation of their choosing?
absolutely. There's a lot of people, and this is how sometimes charities survive. That do this as a charitable gift. Again, talk to your tax consultant about some of those benefits. But on just a purely kind of beneficiary legacy, right? Giving the gift that keeps on giving. We can all think back about a very important person in our life that's not our family. Or organization or school or someone that shaped you into you, and you just want to give back. And this is a great way to take a little bit of money and turn it into a lot of money tax free, so they can help more people and children and or families and or insert right whatever your cause is here. I've done definitely a few of these, and again, sometimes it's they still have a family, they're just using a portion,
I was
so it's
about to
not
ask
an
you
all or
that. Can
nothing.
somebody,
Yeah,
divide it?
you can, as long as it equals 100%, right? So you can literally have 100 different beneficiaries at 1% each. And believe it or not, I've done a fraction of percent before for members. That was an interesting day because I had to ask. I had to ask our beneficiary services if that was even a possibility.
Yeah.
So yeah, as long as it equals 100%, you can have as many beneficiaries as you want. It's a great way to kind of take it out of, okay, here's my assets that I'm supposed to live on and then deplete as I get older. But then it's over here. It's a set it and forget it moment where upon your passing, that money will be available and you don't have to worry about, leaving assets that might create a tax burden for the family because death benefits are tax free.
Now, while Navy Mutual's policies, mostly apply to military retirees, does the beneficiary have to have a military association?
So the short answer is no. Eligibility with Navy Mutual goes to anybody active duty, retired, reservist, or a separated veteran in specific states for your first policy. If you have a policy with Navy Mutual, you can be anywhere in the world. Once a member, always a member. So your spouse is eligible, and to get your kids' foot in the door, you'd have to get them a policy prior to age 26. Once they have a policy, they're considered an associate member, and they can continue to use Navy Mutual's products and resources for the rest of their lives as well. The beneficiaries just have to have what's called an insurable interest in the sense that it can't be, a loan shark or something. I'm trying to think of a ridiculous example
Right.
that would kind of bring it to light. It's got to be somebody that you're either in business with or would have some sort of loss, right? If something were to happen to you, and that can be a great aunt that you're now the caregiver of, or you were a nurse and now a caregiver of, or vice versa, I guess. So the idea here is insurable interest, but they do not have to have a military connection. So your military connection would be for the people that are going to be the insured or owner of the policy. They would have to have that military background
Okay.
or spouse of or kids of.
Right, right.
Not beneficiary, but that's a good question. We don't get that a lot, but I would now. I'm wondering if more people have that, and maybe we should address it on our website, maybe mutual.org. So
I think it's great when we do ask some of these more, unthought of questions because then, someone out there is wondering and then could that be the reason why they don't reach out or that could be the reason why they're hesitant about
yeah,
even exploring, these options.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Underwriting is a big topic that I'm sure we'll cover in a different one that a lot of people reach out. And all I can say about that is if you have a question, talk to us. I mean, I always joke around that advice is free. The only thing that costs you anything at Navy Mutual is the actual product itself. You know what I mean? But
Right.
information is free at Navy Mutual. Our time doesn't cost anything. We're the country's oldest financial or federally recognized VSO, and we've been helping families for 145 years. And we're going to keep doing so for another 145. So,
So, I want to touch on that, what you said earlier about, just calling to ask questions in general. If somebody, did want to explore that, can they bring their, intended beneficiaries to that meeting with you?
more the merrier. Show of hands on Facebook land. Who's played the telephone game at camp at one point, right? And I would imagine 90+% of people have. Information can get skewed or lost or interpreted differently through the chain. So the more people you that are involved in your estate planning that need to be, the better, so they can hear it directly from the subject matter expert. Just as if you were given a brief and to either your CEO or your CEO is given a brief to you, right? You'd want as many ears in the room as possible, people that are going to be part of that process. So Navy Mutual encourages anybody and everybody. We have no secrets. We have no fine print. And our beneficiary services are the best in the business. So if your beneficiary is involved or spouse or whoever your maybe trustee for a trust, right, is involved, they'll know that Navy Mutual is different. Meaning, if something were to happen to you, Navy Mutual actually will release 10% of the policy up to 10 grand without even seeing a death certificate. We actually have live, help from a counselor to say, hey, don't forget this with the DoD, this with the VA, kind of like a Keiko when you're active, but say you're out now. So we actually help you through the process. Now we don't have the bandwidth to fill out all the forms for you, but we can at least help you out and guide you through the checklist of things to remember. And it's a tough time, and there's so much going on that it's one less thing to worry about. So having beneficiary involved, in the process only makes it easier when you're not there to help.
Absolutely. And I do like the idea of, like you said, have whoever's going to be the trust manager, have your beneficiary, so everybody's on the same page.
Yeah, well, at least and it's not like, wait, what do I do? But worst case
Right.
scenario, I've had some people in their Go folder, and I know everybody knows what that is. They, call Navy Mutual. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as that, and then we would help through the process.
Well, on that note, I do want to say thank you so much for joining us today and definitely giving us a lot of comfortable feelings about, when that time might come around. Because I know we all want to be in like the good, happy spirits right now with this
Oh yeah,
this time of the month. But for sure, like I said, I want to, just kind of piggyback on that. If any of you watching right now do have any other questions, or there was anything that we didn't get to address, in today's conversation, definitely give a call to our friends at Navy Mutual. Say hi to Ryan for me.
that's right.
And of course, please subscribe to all of our social media for more wonderful resources for our military families. And we want to thank you all. Please have a safe